Most people don't get fired because of poor performance. They get fired because of 4 sentences. 4 completely ordinary, completely human sentences that felt reasonable in the moment. Sentences that felt like honesty. Sentences that felt like the kind of thing any self-respecting professional would say when pushed far enough. And yet, those exact words became the ammunition their employer used to build a case, document a pattern, and eventually show them the door. I've watched it happen more times than I can count. And the most painful part isn't the outcome. It's that almost every single person who said those words had no idea what they'd just done. My name is Jordan. And today I'm walking you through the 4 things you should never say at work, why each one backfires in ways you won't see coming, and the smarter way to handle the moment that tempts you to say them. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will see your workplace the way the people across the table from you already see it. One quick note before we begin. I am not a lawyer, and nothing in this video is legal advice. This is education based on patterns that repeat themselves across workplaces consistently. Every situation has its own details, so if something serious is unfolding at your job right now, please speak with an employment attorney in your area who can look at your specific circumstances. Now, let's get into it. Phrase number 1, I'm not paid enough for this. The first phrase is one of the most emotionally satisfying things you can say at work. I'm not paid enough for this. It feels like standing up for yourself. It feels like drawing a line. Maybe you've been absorbing extra work for months with no acknowledgement, no adjustment, and no end in sight. The frustration is legitimate. The feeling is valid. And in almost every case, the words are completely true. But here's what happens the moment those words leave your mouth. You don't land as someone making a fair point. You land as someone who has just announced they are disengaged, undercommitted, and already emotionally checked out of the role. And in a workplace context, that perception is extraordinarily difficult to reverse. Because here's what your manager now has to do with that information. They have to report upward that one of their people expressed dissatisfaction in a way that suggests a flight risk. Flight risks get quietly deprioritized. They stop receiving the high visibility assignments. They get passed over for internal opportunities before those opportunities are ever announced. And when restructuring conversations happen, the ones you never get invited to, your name surfaces as someone already on their way out. You turn a compensation concern into a documented attitude problem. The smarter move is this. Request a formal compensation review. Put it in an email. Frame it around your expanded responsibilities and your market value. Something like, I'd like to schedule time to discuss my compensation in light of what my role has grown to include over the past year. That sentence opens a negotiation. The other sentence closes a door. Advocate for yourself. Just do it in a language the institution is designed to respond to. Phrase number 2, that's not my fault. The second phrase feels like self-defense. And in many cases, it genuinely is. That's not my fault. Something went wrong. Maybe it was a miscommunication. Maybe someone upstream dropped the ball and you inherited the fallout. Maybe the failure had nothing to do with you and everything to do with a broken process that everyone in the room knows has been broken for months. You're not wrong. You're probably not even being unfair. But the moment you say those words in a professional setting, especially in front of leadership, you have just demonstrated exactly one thing: that your instinct under pressure is to protect yourself rather than solve the problem. And that single observation will follow you much further than the original incident ever would have. Leaders don't promote people who deflect. They promote people who absorb. Not because absorbing is always fair, it frequently isn't, but because the ability to stay solution-focused under pressure is one of the rarest and most valuable things a professional can demonstrate. Every time you show it, you build credibility. Every time you abandon it, you lose ground that takes months to recover. The move is not to accept blame that isn't yours. The move is to redirect toward resolution. Try, here's where I think the breakdown happened, and here's what I'd recommend we do to prevent it next time. That response shows ownership of the outcome without ownership of the error. It positions you as someone who moves things forward. And moving things forward is what leadership is always quietly watching for. Phrase number 3, I don't get along with name. The third phrase is the one that ends the most careers quietly, over time, in ways the person never fully traces back to this moment. I don't get along with name. Maybe it's your manager. Maybe it's a peer who has made your working life genuinely difficult. Maybe the relationship is so dysfunctional that it is actively affecting your ability to do your job. The frustration is real, the dynamic is real, and the impulse to name it, especially to HR, especially to a manager you trust, feels like the responsible thing to do. Here's what's actually happening when you say it. You are not registering a complaint. You are volunteering a liability assessment. The moment you identify yourself as someone who cannot maintain a functional working relationship with another employee, regardless of whose fault the dynamic is, you become the unpredictable variable in that equation. Companies don't investigate interpersonal friction. They eliminate it. And the person most likely to be eliminated is the one who raised their hand and named the problem. There is also a documentation dimension here. Once you've made that statement, every future interaction you have with that person is filtered through it. A tense exchange in a meeting becomes evidence of an ongoing conflict. An email that reads as blunt becomes proof of a deteriorating relationship. You handed them the frame. Now every picture gets put in it. If the relationship is genuinely toxic, if there is harassment, discrimination, or conduct that crosses a legal line, report it formally, in writing, using the specific protected category it falls under. That creates legal protection for you. But for everything short of that threshold, handle it directly, document your own attempts at resolution, and never let the organization hear you describe yourself as someone who doesn't get along with a colleague. That sentence is far more damaging to your career than the relationship it describes. Phrase number 4. I've been here longer than everyone else. The fourth phrase is the one that surprises people the most, because it sounds like an asset. I've been here longer than everyone else. You've invested years. You carry institutional knowledge nobody else has. You remember how the systems were built, why certain decisions were made, what failed and what worked. And you watch someone newer, someone who has been there a fraction of the time, get elevated over you, and you say it out loud. Maybe to your manager, maybe in a team meeting, maybe to a colleague you trust. Here is what leadership hears when that sentence reaches them. They hear someone who believes tenure is a substitute for performance. They hear someone who is measuring their own value in years rather than in current contribution. And in the modern workplace, that is one of the fastest ways to make yourself look like someone the organization is already carrying rather than investing in. Longevity is only an asset if it's attached to visible, current impact. The moment you lean on it as an argument in itself, as a reason you deserve more than someone else, it stops being a credential and starts being a warning sign. It signals that your orientation is backward rather than forward, and companies promote people who are looking forward to it. The smarter way to make this case is to translate your tenure into specific, current value. Not, I've been here longer, but I've led 3 product cycles. I built the onboarding system the whole team uses, and here's what I'm positioned to contribute over the next 12 months. That is a promotion conversation. The other one is an exit conversation that hasn't started yet. Pull all 4 of these together, and the pattern becomes clear. Every single one of these phrases feels justified. Every one of them feels like the honest, human, reasonable thing to say. And every single one of them quietly transfers power away from you and toward the institution without you ever noticing the exchange happened. The fix is not to become someone you're not. It's not to become cold, guarded, or performatively agreeable. The fix is to understand that your workplace is a structured environment with specific rules about what builds leverage and what destroys it, and to speak accordingly. Don't express frustration about compensation at the moment. Open a formal conversation about your market value on your timeline. Don't deflect blame under pressure. Redirect towards solutions, and let your composure do the talking. Don't name interpersonal conflicts casually. Handle what you can directly, and report what crosses a legal line in writing with the right language attached. And don't lean on your history as your argument. Make your current value so visible that nobody needs to be reminded of it. The people across the table from you already know these rules. Now so do you. If this gives you something useful, something you can actually apply the next time one of these moments comes up, hit that subscribe button right now. Every week, I break down the professional dynamics that most people learn the hard way and far too late. Subscribe and you'll stay ahead of them. This channel is built for people who want to understand the game before it's played against them. I'll see you in the next one.